I get 70% of my leads from the residential agents who can't practice commercial because they're not in the industry. They don't have access to the tools and the systems. They don't understand it, which is fine. So I do get a lot of help from the residential friends that I developed over a decade. And then, the business owners in my community have now come to respect me as a commercial agent. There's 6,000 residential agents in the market, but now that I've said, hey, I'm this specialty type of person over here, I'm getting business from people I otherwise never would have had access to as a resident commercial agent.
Hello, friends. It's Amy Calandrino, and I'm coming back to you for another installment of the Performance Mindset Podcast. After over a decade of advising business owners and entrepreneurs and investors, I wanted to share some of the really cool people I've met along the way. So if you're looking to grow, you're tuning into the right show. I have Cassandra Hartford on today. She is a fellow commercial real estate woman badass. She has her own boutique brokerage down in Melbourne, Florida, the Space Coast, which we'll get into some with our questioning today. What inspires me the most about Cassandra is just how real she is and authentic she is. And so that's either a good or bad thing for people that want fake people. It's probably not the best thing, but people who like good people that are authentic, it's a good thing. So at one point she was 18 years old with 2 babies, and she was recently divorced and jobless. And she decided to take a leap and go and get her real estate license. It took 5 times to pass that, but she has climbed the ladder. She's in the top 1% of her peers in her area. And I just love her energy. What's so interesting too is just, I was out at my favorite restaurant just this weekend, and who walks in but Cassandra. So it's so awesome. But you can read all about her more on the bio. Don't want to necessarily read that. I really want to kind of jump into everything. So welcome to the show.
Thanks, Amy. I'm so excited to be here with you.
So let's go back to the beginning, and because I think that has a lot to do with your mindset and where you're at. Can you kind of talk about that? What's been kind of the key turning points for you in your journey?
Yeah, well, all the key turning points were the universe just shifting in such a way that I had to pivot, and I didn't really have a choice. I've always been intrigued by the individuals who kind of get into a depression and they stay in bed all day and they kind of stop life. And I've never been able to fucking do that, right? Life has punched me in the face so many times. And you literally get back up and you're like, all right, I got a fucking black eye. I'm going to keep pushing through this. And pardon me, I'm a cusser. So if you don't like cussing, it might be time to tune out right about now.
Yep.
But life started pretty rough for me. I was raised 200% below the poverty level. Some mornings before school, we didn't have utilities. So I was washing my hair in buckets with the neighbor's hose so that I wasn't the smelly or gross kid at school. So coming from that environment into an industry where I literally have a license to cash checks, I saw endless potential to outwork and run circles around my competition. And yeah, I just hung on to that. And just every day I show up, and I've noticed that it's really, really easy to excel in this industry if you're willing to just go through uncomfortable moments and just keep working and keep working and keep learning and keep working.
Yeah, that's so interesting. It's not something I've talked about a lot publicly. Some people know it, but when we came down, my family from Vermont to Florida, we parked our trailer on someone else's land with no running water, no utilities to save enough money to come down here. And we would literally boil the water on the stove up to lukewarm, and that this is your pot, Amy, to wash yourself, or we'd bathe in the lake or whatever. But we lived in trailers probably until I was in 6th grade. And then we finally got a house. And, but I totally get it. I was a free lunch kid, and, I loved those little milks that you would get though, so every day at school. But I get it. I mean, I think that hunger and that drive, I think it just makes you so much more humble having that experience, too. You haven't been given everything with a silver spoon. You've had to earn every little bit of it.
Every little bit of it. I was having this discussion with someone, I think yesterday, like nothing I have, it was been handed to me. And I take pride in that. I'm very, that conversation was based around, another female in the industry. She's on the residential side. She made a snide comment about how, oh, I got this big customer. I must have slept with them. And I'm like, to take away all of the hard work that I've done to earn those customers and is that what you would have to do to earn that customer? It's just our industry, it can be a little rough like that. And then if you've gone through what I've gone through and you try to, take away everything I've earned, it really pisses me off.
It's interesting. I found that people tend to project their personality onto other people, so that like often those people that are saying those things about people, it's because they may already kind of have that in their blood. So they may suspect that other people like do it. Like it's like people that call people liars or cheats, then often
Sure.
are like, I've gone through like a relationship recently that everybody's out to screw her. But then I realized she may be doing the same thing. It's really interesting. It's like,
He's the one doing the screwing.
Yeah. So it's interesting. It's interesting. And like one thing you were talking about, and I actually had a conversation with somebody about this today, is like, I don't understand the not getting out of bed. I've never been at that point. Like I've never been able to give up. Like no matter like how, like I might get pretty down low and it might be really, really, really hard, but I've never been able to just like give up. It's actually something I've shared in like therapy, like with my therapist. Is like, I don't know why, but I just can't give up. I guess it's a good thing. So that's why I'm having this podcast. But
Absolutely.
now you're in the top 1% of your peers. Like how long did it take you to get to that point? Like 5, 10 years, or just mainly in the last few years you kind of hockey sticked up?
Yeah. I mean, I've been working on all of this half my life. So
Yeah.
literally. So it's taken a full decade to get where I'm at, wherever that is.
Yeah.
But, I was guilty. I'm so guilty of it. And I hate to admit it, but I was a resi-commercial agent for 10 years. I did both. I was really, really, really good at both. And about 4 or 5 years ago, I discovered that all of the older men in my industry were teetering on retirement, and there's no one in my market to take that market share. So I pivoted and I really hockey sticked up from there. There's just no competition. And that sounds terrible because I wish that there was more in our market. Why? Because agents from Miami and Tampa and New York are now getting listings in my backyard because there's not enough of me to go around, and there's not enough local agents serving our market. So it's a growing pain that we're going through, but it's taken me 15 years to get here, through, other sides of the industry, up and down, but really the trajectory has just been those last 4 or 5 years.
Well, and let's talk about that. So like you decided to, you were comfortable doing both. Not many people can do both. So kudos to you being able to do both. But then when you decided that you're going to go fully commercial, now you are Reach Commercial. Talk about like the whole process of coming up with that like brand and like what that kind of looked like, and how it's been. Has that helped to accelerate your success as well? Or is it more so coming referrals to you, or both?
A little bit of both. So owning my own office, I swear to God, I would never do it. I didn't want the liability. And then I see this glaring hole in our market where I'm like, nobody's doing it. And it got to such a pain point that I was like, fuck, I got to do it. I got to open my own office. Mm-hmm. Turning off the faucet for residential fucking sucked. Mm-hmm. Turning off $15 million a year in sales and leads was terrible. And it still even stings now that like commercial, it's a little slow here. The lending is pulled back a little bit. This market isn't outstanding like it was a year and a half ago. So it's a little pain in my side not having the residential, but switching to the commercial, I get 70% of my leads from the residential agents who can't practice commercial because they're not in the industry. They don't have access to the tools and the systems. They don't understand it, which is fine. So I do get a lot of help from the residential friends that I developed over a decade. And then, the business owners in my community have now come to like respect me as a commercial agent. There's 6,000 residential agents in the market, but now that I've said, hey, I'm like this specialty type of person over here, I'm getting business from people I otherwise never would have had access to as a resi commercial agent. So starting the brand, which was kind of a roller coaster. I was supposed to have a partner, and the partner and I came up with the name, and I couldn't get him off his ass to do anything. And I think that was the universe saying, hey, you need to go out and you need to do this on your own. So that's how we came to what Reach Commercial is today. Reach Commercial stands for Real Estate and Cassandra Hartford.
No way.
It doesn't. It doesn't. But,
but that is so badass.
Yeah. No,
you want to see if we're paying attention.
Like, yeah, like reach. Like I have reach beyond our market, beyond the people that you know, beyond the knowledge that you may have as a business owner. Like reach can mean so many different things, and you can use. I can go international with the brand if I really wanted to.
Oh yeah,
it just has that like yours beyond. It's the same connotation. It's just big dick energy.
It is big dick energy. It's amazing. It's interesting though. Your journey is like not much unlike my own, wherein in 2016, I decided to like drop. I was Silver Leaf Realty before, and it was a resi commercial brand. And I decided in 2016 to kind of drop that. And all of a sudden, Beyond Commercial came to me one afternoon listening to Bobby Darin. Beyond the Sea came on Frank Sinatra radio that I was listening to on Pandora as I was doing like a pro forma. And I was like, oh, Beyond, that's it. I did have to pay like a couple $1,000s for like the website, but well worth the money. It was a good name. But I noticed after I did that and I had the new name, I went back and pitched some of the same people that I had pitched before. And it was like night and day. Like it resonated so much more. And I agree with you. There's like so much more like reach and capability, having something that's like a recognizable commercial brand. So yeah. What have been some of the challenges, like other than like giving up your residential like pipeline? Like what have been some of the challenges as you've kind of grown this brokerage?
Yeah, so pre-breach, the challenges were that the guys at the big wirehouses wouldn't take me seriously because I had this little rinky-dink boutique name accompany with me. You know, Cushman and Wakefield and CBRE and Franklin Street, they weren't answering the phone to Cassandra Hartford at CREi Real Estate or whatever brand that I would have been with. So that was the commercial challenge pre-reach. Now, post-reach, I'll be honest with you, it's way more fucking work than I thought it was going to be. I had no idea, like the back end, like the operations. I had to bring in a bookkeeper. I've got someone kind of helping with HR. I've got someone running some files for me that I otherwise would have done myself. Like there's more on the brokerage side than I anticipated, which is interesting because we've all had brokers in the past that were kind of just like talked a little bit of shit about, like, oh, they kind of suck at this area, they suck at that, or they don't like everybody jumped from brokerage to brokerage because their broker was, had a defect or two. I'm feeling that so hard right now that I'm like, I take back every fucking thing I ever said about any of the owners of any of the real estate companies I've ever worked for, because this is not easy. It's not easy and it's super duper hard. That wasn't what I expected. Bringing on agents, way more complicated than I thought it would be. Everyone wants to become your best friend instantaneously, which is just not the way that I operate. I work, I go home, I spend time with my family. I don't socialize a ton outside of work. And that's really complicated for agents because they think that now that they're on your team, they're best friends with you. They get access to you 24/7. Not me, no. And that's why I don't think that I can hire moving forward. I think we're going to stay a really, really small, lean team and just lean on the admin side.
Yes, take it from me. We'll have a sit down, like, because I went all the way from me to 8 at my peak, and staff. I think I was at like 13 total people. The burn rate was crazy, and the thing is once you grow, you end up signing all these year-long contracts, and then you end up getting yourself into leases or real estate. It's really hard to unwind it and stop that train once you've decided to expand. So let me just save you a few $100,000. And because I feel like I can do, I shared with you my pipeline. I've been able to do that with just like, that's mostly me with like a couple like admins. I have 2 full-time equivalents now, and I do have 2 agents, but one is I'm still having to teach her every single thing that she's doing. And she knows that, like, I'm still having to kind of like be almost like the puppeteer right now and like you're going to go to this showing and then tell me how the showing went and I'll tell you what next to do. And then the other one's been with me for 5 years. And she actually is kind of like a really good like friend. She's someone I'll call at 9 o'clock at night just to shoot the shit. So, but all the rest of them, yes, they try to become your best friend. And then all of a sudden you give them too much. And then it's like, mama, feed me more. And then, oh, that's the split I'm going to get. Well, shit, no. I did all the work to build this in. So let me just, I'll save you a couple $100,000. So you're welcome.
That's really, really good feedback. God, that's, I think you and I operate on the same wavelength.
Yeah.
You're in a much way busier market than mine. I'm in a tertiary market. You're in one of the largest markets in the country. How has the economy affected your business?
It's really hard for me to say because I have much more lead abundance than I had, like when, so I'm still signing up a lot of deals. I would say things are slower. There's a lot more problems in a deal where like I was cranking out in 2021, 2022, I could get a buyer under contract even with financing and I could land the plane in like 30 to 45 days. Basically blindfolded. I could do that. And now it's just really hard. There's less financing options. I would say the office has taken a little bit of a hit. Industrial is still crazy. It's multiple bidding wars to get industrial space. But I guess I haven't really felt the pain as much as just things keep getting delayed. So I'm like, holy fuck, there's like that 50,000 or whatever it was that was going to close. And now that's been like kicked out several months. And then it's just like, you're waiting. And I took the time to look through my financials, like all the way back to 2017, 2018. And I noticed that, like people were like, oh, you make all that money, but there's so many times where I'll go 3-4 months without like a significant like paycheck. And then all of a sudden it comes in and it's all about cash management and like watching like your burn rate. I don't know if you heard to hear Bob Knackle talking or not. But like he talked about in his fireside chat, he was like, he was mortgaged to the hilt in 1993. Really? Yeah. And he had to go get like hard money and everything to stay in business. And then boom, it all clicked. But he said if he had gone into business just a few months earlier, he would have ramped up too quick his brokerage and their burn rate would have been too much to survive. But because he got delayed leaving where he was, like that's what caused him. And I can relate. I mean, like it's been hard for me to like now pivot from having like all the office space for my agents and then now not really having agents really come in, but we have an office. But I'm still not seeing, I was at, I don't know, like $6,000 a month, like in commercial real estate costs. And then not to mention, I mean, I was up to over $30,000 a month, like in expenses at some point, excluding COGS. So I'm trying to get everything back down to more like 15 for next year, but we'll see.
It's easy to do in our industry. Like people forget how much our programs cost and our coaching, how much it costs to list every property. Like commercial real estate is expensive.
My admins are out this week and I'm ordering pictures and I'm ordering signs and I'm like, that's how much it costs to put up like a sign. Like, oh, you don't have the sign that I want? I'm like, okay, let's just use a different sign that we already have in the storage unit because I think we have $20,000 worth of signs like in the storage unit.
What's another one?
Oh my gosh. So, well, what's some of the things that you do? You talked about coaching and different things. What do you do to keep yourself like ahead of others and stay on like the cutting edge of the industry?
Well, like that plays into being in a tertiary market. The folks in my industry here haven't educated themselves in 30 years. I mean, I'm really dealing with this 75% of my competitors are in their 60s or 70s. Okay. So those guys aren't going to continuing ed. They're not going to conferences. They're not going to CREi Summit. That's a mouthful. CREi Summit. They're not participating on social media at all whatsoever. They're not intermingling and talking to the commercial brokers across the country, learning what their markets are like and how that's going to ripple over into our market. So really just staying in front of other people in our industry. And that's, that is conferences, that is the networking, that is the CCIM or the SIOR, that is just staying up to date. These guys get pretty comfortable. They've made, their 7-figure retirement accounts, and now they're just on the boat and they're golfing. They're not leaning towards commercial real estate on their time off. Like, they're not spending their spare time obsessing over this thing anymore. I'm sure they did back in the 80s. So it's really easy to stay ahead of them because they're not doing anything. Yeah. And it feels like I'm the queen of the castle until somebody else comes along. Soon enough, I'm going to shit out of luck. But for now, that's how Twitter is huge. Everybody that I really admire in our industry is on Twitter talking about deals, sharing their pain points, sharing their successes. I mean, that's all gate kept. Everywhere else, name another place on the internet where you can log on for free, learn about commercial real estate in real time.
Well, that was the interesting part about CREi, and then I'll ask you a question about that. But first, I thought it was really interesting. There were so many rookies that they've just educated themselves by being out there. And then that whole community kind of like comes around them to nurture them. Like, where was that? I was there. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I know.
It's okay. I figured it out, but but like, what do you say is one of your takeaways from CREi this year?
Can I be transparent and selfish and say that, like, I probably need to be doing more coaching personally myself? I feel like I have the personality and the ability to lean in and maybe take on some of those rookies myself and kind of teach them some of what I've learned, because I didn't have a mentor. I just fucking fumbled for 15 years until I figured it out. And I think that I want to create a course and I want to do some of those things. But I think, what I learned from that, well, first of all, I got to see a ton of my friends, which was my favorite part, just hanging out with all of you guys. But I'd love to speak next year, but I'd love to start training and doing courses and like gifting what this is that I have.
Yeah.
And maybe monetize it at some point eventually. But I think I could give back.
Yeah. That's amazing. That's amazing. Like I know, just us even meeting, like, I'm not constantly doing all the social media stuff. I'm like middle of the pack as far as like influencers go, but then you're like, oh, check out this app. And now like I'm obsessed with it. Like, it just makes my like life so much more easy. You're like, oh, just do this. And so, but I feel like that all comes back. And then yes, you can monetize it later, if you'd like, but then just having that impact, you end up with other people in the industry, because a lot of people become complacent when they get older. They do what they need to do, but not many people. I don't think Bob Knackle is going to be like on a fishing boat and golfing every day. Like, when he gets to be that age, I don't know if he'll ever be able to stop working. So
I know. And there's a lot of people like him. They die in the field. They die like unlocking a warehouse door because they're just going to do it until they're 100. My mentor is 72 years old. She's been a CCIM since women were allowed to become a CCIM. She's fantastic. She doesn't work anymore, but she still owns 30 properties and manages them all herself. So she's kind of still in it.
Wow.
She's not going to stop anytime soon.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
When I was looking at all your hobbies, I found it to be really interesting. I call it someone who has a lot of different hobbies and a lot of different interests to be like Jeffersonian. Like, I went to the Monticello estate, like in Upper Virginia, and he had a room just for studying weather, like a room for writing postcards. He had like a farm. Like, this is what like I would do. But then when I was reading about like you're into improv acting and koi fish and all this kind of stuff, I'm like, yeah, she really is like me. And then for other people, it's going to be like overwhelming to hear all the things that you're interested in. But I think that just makes you like a kind and curious person. So tell us a little bit about that, like in your quest to do different things.
Sure. I mean, well, growing up, I was so poor. All I had was a bicycle and my legs. So I get out of the house and explore a lot. So as an adult now who, I've earned a decent wage and I can afford to experience things. We have a pond. We have koi fish. They all have names and personalities because I'm allergic to dogs and cats. Yep. So those are the pets that we've inherited. I've become like the koi rescuer here in Brevard County. Anytime anyone sells a house and it has koi fish left behind, these people just leave their koi fish, which is blasphemy for me. we go and we rescue these magnificent 30-year-old koi fish, and we bring them home and we make them a part of our family. So our backyard is, I garden, I have exotic plants, we have vines and flowers. So if you follow my social media, you'll see every weekend I'll go through and I'll take pictures of everything that's blooming on the weekend. So I appreciate that. And then I absolutely am obsessed with all things comedy, improv acting, everything, comic sketch. If it causes laughter, I'm addicted to it. So when I'm not talking about commercial real estate, I probably have a podcast in my ear of some comedian somewhere in the world. That's just what I'm doing. That's going to be my second career. I probably won't do commercial real estate forever. At some point, I'm going to hit park on this guy, retire from commercial, and then step into some sort of, I don't know what it'll be.
Saturday Night Live? What do you think you do?
Entertainment. That's a fucking dream, isn't it? But something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Something like that.
I was just thinking of Kristen Wiig's character actually last night. I like also like dark comedy, like not dark, like in dry comedy. It's really, I really liked the series Barry recently. Did you get to watch that with Bill Hader?
No.
Oh,
so you've got to send that to me.
It's a comedy / mystery / it's so good. I'll send it to you. It's great.
I'll check it out.
But yeah, I find that I got to look at some of your pictures of you gardening on the weekend. I miss those. So
yeah. I speak to my plants. They're the only things in my house that don't have an opinion and talk back. So, I have 2 teenagers. So I go outside and I talk to my flowers, and they're sweet back to me.
Did you ever see the Saturday Night Live skit with Christopher Walken and the googly eyes on the plants that he puts on the plants so they could trust him?
Oh my God, no, but that sounds incredible.
Oh, I'm sending that to you afterwards. You will. Okay. Oh my gosh, I wish I had like my assistant today, because then I could do the Joe Rogan thing where then it's like playing and like, Christopher Walken with the googly eyes. Maybe Finn will remember to stick that in there. No, I think that's interesting. I find that there's a lot of people that I went to high school with that they don't really have like a lot of hobbies, and they're still like, it's like the best days are behind them. But I am kind of the same as you. Day. What's that?
What do they do all day?
Well, they just like work until they can get off, and then, happy hour and let's get drunk, and not everybody. I have some really great like winners, but then sometimes if I go to like my hometown and stuff, like I'm like, oh gosh, like you do this like every day, it would be like so boring for me. But I can see too, like me growing up dirt poor, my husband says his favorite thing about me is the fact that I get really excited about everything. And I never realized why that was until we were talking right now, is that it is like everything in my life is new. I didn't have, I didn't have cable.
So many first times.
Right. I didn't have cable. I didn't have a dishwasher. I didn't have those things. So this is all like new.
Yep. Oh, that's so exciting that you just realized that you can like experience all the things.
That's maybe like why I'm so excited. Let's wait. But yeah, interesting. So do you think do you have any books or events that have impacted you along the way?
A few parenting books have kicked my ass recently. Again, I'm going through the woes with 2 teenagers. Parenting with Love and Logic has changed the way that I parent. It's very interesting. So that is just like, off topic, not commercial real estate, but as your kids get a little older, actually there's one for kids and then there's one for teens, and it's just phenomenal. Parenting with Love and Logic. And it sounds like it's super fucking boring. I read it in a day. I couldn't put it down. It was one of the best books I've ever read. But that is applicable also to how I interact with my spouse and my customers. It's really being hands off. I learned the way that I was raised caused me to be like very anxious attached. So I parent that way. I customer that way. I'm constantly like fearful that like my customers aren't pleased or I'm not doing enough. Meanwhile, I'm like working 24/7. So that book, a lot of books on my childhood trauma, honestly. There's a few. Lately I've read one, 10x is easier than 2x, and everybody's talking about that buzz right now. That book kicked my ass.
Yes.
There's so much shit in that 80% gap that's doing nothing for me. And you've got to push it aside so that you can focus on the 20%. And that is, I think that's a book that could change a lot of people's lives.
Well, it was interesting. I'm getting interviewed, and hopefully as the time of the podcast, I get accepted, like by the time it drops, I'm getting interviewed for Athena PowerLink. And it is like a woman, you have to make over $500,000 a year. You have to have been in business. You have to have a certain number of employees, and you get appointed like your own board of directors. And after I left the meeting and they were going through my whole business, it's like, I think I was too small before, and then I got too big. And now I think actually I am just right, but I'm not probably deploying everybody as well as I could. Like, I shouldn't be doing these tenant rep deals. Like, I think like I'm a master magician when it comes to development work, sales, all of those things. And those are like our high profit margin things that keep like all the lights on and keep everything going. And I think like I'm doing a disservice where I think I could give more of that work to the other team members, but not too much, because I don't want to go and breed a culture of entitlement again. But I think my point of it is like, it's just like an iterative process. Like you're constantly trying to like write, it's because I wanted to like not focus on the 80%, because I was realizing like, there was a tour today that came up like at noon, and nope, I didn't have to run and do that tour today. Like I had another agent be able to go like do that tour today. So I'm not running and frazzled for this. And so like I was able to handle all my listing inquiries, because the listings are what's going to make a big difference. So
absolutely.
Yeah. Well, you've worked with a ton of different businesses, and then you have your own business yourself. Do you have any advice for people in particular?
No, I'm not smart enough to give people advice. No. Okay, here's my advice. Know your strengths and know your weaknesses. Outsource your weaknesses. You don't have to fucking learn how to bookkeep and be really bad at math and keep messing it up. Just outsource it. Your time is more valuable focusing on your strengths. And that is something I'm learning how to do every day, but that's about as deep as I can go on that subject.
No, I think that makes a lot of sense. I've read the book, The E-Myth, and I think sometimes that it can become, trying to grow this brokerage and everything, I will want to sometimes take things on that I really shouldn't be taking on. And I think it's much smarter. Like, I was on the phone with my bookkeeper for forever this morning, and I'm like, I could just do this myself on the weekends and at night like I used to. But no, can't do that again. That was just, we don't need to go back there.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So given your background that you've been so candid about with trauma and all that, it would be super easy to like have fear take over. And then you fall into that whole scarcity mindset, which is the complete opposite of performance mindset. Like, what are some of the strategies that you deploy to keep your mindset as sharp as possible?
I don't know that I have any strategies per se. I just show up fucking scared every day, every week. Most appointments, most conferences, I show up scared shitless that I'm inadequate, or I'm not pretty enough, or I'm not smart enough, or these people sell more than me, or like, name your insecurity. I walk through most door frames with those, and I just show up regardless, scared. I saw a post yesterday, and it was like, you don't have any money? Good. Now you have a reason to go out and figure out how to earn money. You're late on your rent? Good. Go out and fucking hustle and earn some money. Like, all of the things that we're scared of or that are holding us back are an excuse to continue to show up. And so I just show up scared. Go to your doctor and get a fucking beta blocker, so you don't get swamp ass and nervous hands when you're talking to people. Other than that, you just got to keep showing up. Yeah,
I think you just can't let fear take over, because if you let fear cripple you, then it's going to keep you from getting to that next goal. And I think that is key to do, and just keep pushing. Yeah.
Fear is just an emotion. It's not a thing that's happening to us. It's just something we're feeling, and I can't take away from people's experience, but everything I've ever been scared of is just kind of a joke once you get through it. Like, I can't believe I was scared of that. That person was so nice, or that thing was so easy. It's not real. Fear's not real.
That's so interesting. I was in the gym yesterday, and I suffer with from feelings of inadequacy often, but I said at the gym, I'm like, I'm going to stop being fearful, of being at the gym and all these other people that, have their gym shark outfits on and, all these different things. And they look amazing. And I feel like I'm just like a beluga whale that's been beached, going through the gym. And I know it's not like that, but yesterday I decided what are the people that work out all the time? And he seemed really serious. I was just hey, I see you here all the time. Is there a Roman chair here? And he's like, no, there's not. And it sucks. And I'm like, yeah, it does suck. He's like, what workout are you working on? And we had this whole discussion, and this guy looks like Dan Bilzerian, seriously, cut, short shorts. And normally I don't know that I'm necessarily into that type, but he was good looking. And he's like, talk to me next time you're here. And I'm like, oh. And so just like you're saying, I've been so fearful to sometimes meet some of the other people there because I'm like, oh, I'm not athletic enough, or I'm da-da-da. But I think you just have to you can have those feelings, but you can't give in to those feelings. You just have to keep going.
No.
And then you could have a delightful conversation too, like I just had.
You could have a delightful conversation. I want to share with you something that I was told about the gym a couple of years ago that changed everything I thought about the gym.
Okay. Is this bad or good?
Amy, nobody's fucking thinking about you. Everybody is so goddamn vain. We're all just looking in the mirror, obsessing about how we look and how people are receiving us. And if we're doing our exercise right, or if our muscles are big enough, or whatever, nobody's thinking twice about it.
Okay.
It's cute that you think that they are, but they're not.
Okay, good.
You can go there and be whoever the fuck you want to be. You don't have to worry about it.
That's good, because I have two left feet.
No, it's true.
Yeah, you're probably right. I mean, I never did sports in high school, though. I literally, I was a dork. So I was dirt poor dork. There we go. And so I was into reading books and all of that. So yeah. So I'm not very coordinated, but you're probably right. Nobody's really paying attention to it. So
no one's watching you. They're watching themselves because they're vain.
Well, that's the Carly Simon song, right? You're so vain. Probably think the song's about you. But we'll end with that. How do people get a hold of you?
I am Cassandra Hartford on every platform on the universe. So you can find me pretty easily, or you can come to my office in downtown Melbourne. Invite only, actually. Hold on. 921.
Make an appointment first.
By appointment only. No. You can find me on every platform at Cassandra Hartford.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it's been so real. It's been so good to get to know you. Now that we've really connected, it's almost like we keep running into each other everywhere. I think we're stuck now with each other.
Uh-oh.
That's a good thing, though.
I know.
All right. Well, thank you to everybody for tuning into the Performance Mindset. Again, I'm Amy Calandrino, and I'm signing off.